Hey guys, this is James from CodeWP, and in this video we are going to build out a plugin notes feature. So I saw this feature on Twitter the other day and I thought it was really cool. This feature was added with a plugin and I thought the plugin might be a little overkill for the feature it's trying to add. And the feature that it's trying to add is if I go into my admin notes section on my WordPress site, it adds a new column right over here and it says, here are plugin notes. And you can add plugin notes inline in a nice little text area to say, this is why this plugin's disabled. This is why this plugin is enabled. Here's when I added this plugin and what you need to know. And I figured it could be really helpful for a site that you've been maintaining for hundreds of years, or if you have multiple developers on one site and a new plugin gets installed, you're like, why is this? You can check the notes and understand. So I really like the idea. I think it can be done in a more simple manner than a full-fledged plugin. I think it can be done quite easily with a snippet. And I want to show you kind of my thought process on creating and testing and maybe troubleshooting, building out this feature for a WordPress site. So it's relatively complex, but not the most crazy feature ever. So I think it's a great example for a Let's Build video. So let's go ahead and actually build this. The first thing I want to mention is we're using instawp.io to test out everything. You can see I just spun up a new WordPress website. I have the site here. I've added a couple of plugins, including code snippets, to manage my code when I go and create it. And now I'm just going to jump into CodeWP. I'm on the pro plan. You can use the free plan because WordPress is free for this if you're trying to create the same thing. And I'm going to just go and use the WordPress mode to create the code that adds that feature. So I'm going to jump into WordPress mode. You can see I'm in the editing interface for CodeWP. And I'm going to try to fit a lot into one prompt, and then we can conversationally edit things in the future. And let me just zoom out a little bit to make things a bit more visible. Okay, so as I mentioned, my goal is to add a new column to the plugins admin table right here. And then in that column, we'll have a notes section where it's probably going to be a text area to add each note. And the note should also be auto-saved. So those are kind of my initial goals. And I can get a little more complex where once that's created, I'm going to come back and conversationally edit it and see if I can get it to only allow admins to modify those notes, whereas anybody with access to the plugins table can view them. But we'll do that after we create the core code. So let's think out loud and say, I want a new column for the admin plugins table called notes. In this column, for each plugin, we add a new column. In that column, there's a text area where the notes can be added, edited, or viewed. From that, I want this to auto save with Ajax inline JS only added to this plugins page. Okay, I think that should be enough for our initial code generation. I want a new column, admin plugins table, call it notes. In that column, we add a text area. They can be edited, viewed, added to. I want to auto save this with Ajax. Inline JavaScript is only added to the plugins page. I also know that a lot of times we don't save the spacing, so I want to say save line breaks and spacing as entered. Okay, so I don't know if that last sentence is going to work very well, but I know a lot of times when you save data with Ajax, it will kind of forget about the line breaks, and I just want to make sure that's possible. And this could actually probably be generated without this and then edited to accommodate that, but I kind of just want to include everything up front at once for now. Okay, you can see, and I didn't show you this, and I'll show you this afterwards. You can see in my conversational settings, I have the plugin header mode on, and I also have OOP mode on. So it's going to create this as a class. It's also going to include doc block comments because I believe that setting is on as well. So I probably should have turned all of that off, but we live to see another day. I think the conversational settings are really cool because you can really tailor your output to the type of code and the level of comments that you really enjoy. So I really like OOP. I know a lot of people don't, so I would have turned that off if I had known, but we'll do that another time. Once this explanation is done, I'll just show you. Auto classification is off. Plugin mode is on. Inline code comments are on. Doc block comments are on. So that's what these are. And OOP mode is on, which makes the class. And I think this is really all of the code that we need to get things working. And I'll tell you how it works. Actually, we can just read our description here. Creates a WordPress plugin, adds a new column to the plugin table in the admin area. Each is labeled notes. When the field is focused or loses focus, it's automatically saved using Ajax. So I have to basically click into the field. Then once I click out of it, it automatically saves. So I might want to change that. The JavaScript is added to the footer of the admin area, but only for the plugins page. Great. It's OOP, and it follows WordPress coding standards. Cool. This code looks good to me from just like a eyeball. The way it kind of works is it uses the options table. It uses the plugin file name as kind of the unique indicator. And then it goes and just it saves all of the notes for that plugin and then injects it back into the text area on page reload. So again, like relatively simple code. I don't think we really need a fully fledged plugin for this. I think we can kind of just use this code snippet. So the way I'm going to install it is I do Command A, Command C. You can also use the copy file contents button. We're going to use code snippets to install this. So I'm going to jump into code snippets, make a new one, say plugin notes feature, and be sure to name your features as something that you'll understand, especially if you're going to install a ton of snippets. I really like snippets because you can turn them on and off from the dashboard. There's built-in error handling in these plugins, so if there's an error, you likely won't brick your site. I think it's great. Also note here, for code snippets specifically, it doesn't accept a PHP tag because it already adds it, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to go activate my code, reload the page. Everything is good to go. If I jump in here, everything's good to go. And from that, I'm going to jump into my plugins table and cross my fingers and hope that it was added properly. Awesome. So we can see we now have a note section for our plugins. And really the only thing we need to do now is see if it saves things. So I'm just going to save the name of the plugin here. And obviously, like if this was a real site, I could save, hey, this is what the plugin does. This is why I installed it. This is why this plugin specifically is disabled, something like that. And now the moment of truth is reloading the page and seeing if it's saved to the admin or the options table. And it didn't. So now I get to show you how we can troubleshoot various things. The first thing to note is this is using InstaWP. It's the test website. And that's really important when you're doing things like this. You don't want to be installing this on your production website because that error that I just showed you where it's not saving could almost as likely be a fatal error. And you go and install this as a plugin, you're going to brick the site. Even if you install it as a code snippet with that error handling built in, you could really break the site. So that's something to note, and this is why I'm on the testing environment. So we can see, let's go ahead and troubleshoot. We know that the PHP is working because it's adding the notes field. So that's good. But the actual action of saving the code, that's not working. So we can deduce from that this is very likely the Ajax issue as opposed to some type of PHP issue. Or maybe it's an issue where the Ajax is working, but it's not working in terms of the function that saves the plugin notes here, which I would actually assume to be the case. I believe, just eyeballing this, the code actually isn't right, where we're adding an Ajax refer, but there's no Ajax refer being added in this code. Maybe, who knows? So let's go and just tell CodeWP, hey, I'm having a problem. I'm going to copy and paste the error code that shows up when I add the note. So if I do it again, it'll show up again. you can see, hey, we're getting these errors. And I can just say, I'm getting this error. Please fix code. And I hate when my clients, back when I ran an agency, they would text me and they'd say, please fix. I don't like that. But I'll tell it to my AI anyway. And you can see I have auto classification off, which if it was on, the generate, edit, or explain would automatically be chosen by our AI, and it would be more seamless. But I have it off so I can show you kind of my thought process on, okay, now I'm going to edit, now I'm going to explain, things like that. So I'm going to just go and edit this code, and you can see, it does something like that. All right, we'll see if it works. It only replaces this one line of code. So we'll see if that replacement actually does anything. I'm not very confident that it will, but the AI is. So we'll see how that works. I'm going to just completely replace the code in the code snippet. And I'm going to jump back into my plugins table. And I'll keep this open. And we still have a 403 error. We still have a 403 is and I'm going to edit again because this actually may have been more of a conversational explanation as opposed to this. So who knows? And I also said, is the refer in the JavaScript included? Because it looked like it wasn't included in our JavaScript. Instead, it looked like it was just checking for something that didn't exist. So now we've added our nonce, which I believe connects directly to that Ajax refer. So we'll see. I don't really know how that'll work. I'm also like not very well versed in Ajax stuff because I've been using the WordPress API, the JSON API, REST API, as opposed to Ajax. But Ajax is probably really the right way to go about doing things in the admin like this. All right, that looks like it worked. That seems like it worked. And I'm going to save it and see if it did. Awesome. All right, so let me just recap really quickly. We created our code. It didn't work. I figured, hey, this probably could be a JavaScript issue, maybe the Ajax refer issue. And I troubleshot by going into the console, which gives me JavaScript errors. I found an error that consistently occurred when I was trying to do whatever action I was trying to do. And then I just told CodeWP, here's my error, go and fix the code. And the same would occur if it was a PHP error. So if I was on this code and I was adding it and I had my JavaScript console up and I wasn't finding any errors, I'd have to think and be like, okay, we only have JavaScript and PHP, so if it's not JavaScript, it has to be a PHP problem. And if it was a PHP problem, I would go into my WP debug log, which gives me the PHP errors, and say, all right, let's run this. Let's find the PHP error that's triggered because of the running of this. Let's copy that PHP error, just paste it right into CodeWP and say, I'm getting this error, please fix. And that would work. So that's kind of my thought process when creating code. And you can see it's conversational, and you should never expect code to really work on the first try. But you should expect CodeWP to be able to figure it out if you give them the error message or something like that. So sometimes it could be like a plugin conflict. Sometimes it could be something like what we had where we were missing our security stuff. So various things, but that's kind of how you debug the code. So my feature's working. This is really cool where I can kind of just go and say, hey, here's my note. And if I just reload, my note is added. Awesome. I can add another note here. And if I reload again, the note's added. Sweet. And so on and so forth. So that's a really cool feature that I just kind of thought of. I saw it online. I figured we could do it better with a snippet, and better with a snippet we did. So this snippet is available for you on the CodeWP public snippets library, linked in the description below. I hope you enjoyed that Let's Build episode 2. Let me know in the comments if you have any other Let's Build ideas, or you want to see other plugins or snippets created in real time on live streams. I think this is a really helpful way to show you how CodeWP works, while also creating really helpful things for the community that can be accessed and downloaded onto your own sites, added as a snippet, pretty easily. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next Let's Build video.